I wasn't looking for answers when this happened. The coincidence I wasn't ready for. I moved to Bali after the borders reopened, mostly because I needed a reset. Not a dramatic one, just distance. A place where nobody expected anything from me, and where my past didn't follow me around. Life there settled into a rhythm quickly. I had my regular job, my routines, and a social life that stayed deliberately uncomplicated. I wasn't looking for a relationship. I wasn't trying to build anything serious. I was just open to meeting people, briefly, honestly, without promises. That's how I ended up meeting her. It was arranged casually. A private meeting at a hotel. Nothing romantic, nothing emotional. Two adults agreeing on time and place, with clear expectations. We talked first. That part mattered to me. I've always believed intimacy should come with some human connection, even if it's temporary. She talked a lot. About work. About being tired. About life feeling repetitive lately. Afterward, we lay there quietly, not rushing anywhere. That's usually when people drop their guard, when the performance is over and the conversation becomes real. She asked how long I'd been in Bali. I told her. She asked what I did before. I answered. Then she mentioned where she worked. The name of the office caught my attention. I didn't react right away. I just asked a follow-up question, casually, like it didn't matter. She said the name of my ex. Not as a story, not dramatically, just as a coworker. My stomach tightened. I asked how long she'd worked there. She told me. I asked if she knew her well. She said yes, not close friends, but friendly. Then she added something without thinking twice. She just celebrated her 3-year anniversary with her husband. I remember staring at the ceiling, completely silent. 3 years. I did the math in my head, slowly, carefully, making sure I wasn't miscalculating something simple because of shock. It lined up perfectly. I dated my ex for 4 months. We broke up in March. At the end, she told me she needed space. Then she blocked me everywhere. Phone, social media, everything. No explanation. No goodbye. And all this time, she had a husband. I hadn't known. Not suspected. Not even questioned it. I didn't say much after that. I didn't want to explain. I didn't want to ask questions. I just listened while she kept talking, unaware of what she'd just unlocked. She mentioned how my ex kept her private life quiet at work. How she never talked much about her relationship. How nobody thought it was strange because everyone has their reasons. I nodded. Inside, something shifted. It wasn't anger. It wasn't heartbreak. It was clarity. Sudden, uncomfortable clarity. After she left, I didn't move for a long time. The room felt quieter than before, like all the sound had been drained out of it. I lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying my relationship with my ex, but now with a completely different lens. Moments that once felt confusing suddenly lined up neatly. The missed calls she never returned. The weekends she was always busy. The way she kept her phone face down. How she avoided being seen together in public places where someone might recognize her. At the time, I told myself I was being paranoid. I didn't want to be the jealous guy. I didn't want to invent problems where there were none. Now I understood I hadn't been imagining things. She had been careful. Not cold, careful. There's a difference. Cold people pull away emotionally. Careful people manage information. They curate what you see. They control access. And she did it well. I remembered how affectionate she could be in private, how convincing she was when she said she cared. I remembered how she framed our time together as something separate from the rest of her life, something that didn't need labels or explanations. Back then, I thought it was emotional maturity. Now I saw it for what it was. Containment. The blocking made sense too. Not as cruelty, but as necessity. Once the relationship ended, the safest thing for her was to erase the evidence completely. No loose ends. No lingering conversations. No chance of overlap. I had wondered for months why the ending felt so abrupt, so final. Why there was no attempt to stay friendly, no gradual fade. Because fading wasn't an option. That night in the hotel hadn't reopened old wounds. It had closed them. There was something oddly relieving about learning the truth from someone who had no reason to lie. I didn't feel betrayed in the dramatic sense. I felt corrected. Corrected about who she was. Corrected about what we had been. Corrected about why it ended the way it did. Later that evening, I went for a walk. Bali has a way of grounding you like that. The air was warm, the streets familiar, people living their lives without any awareness of the small personal earthquake that had just happened inside me. I thought about reaching out to my ex, about confronting her, about asking questions I already knew the answers to. But I didn't. There was nothing left to gain. Knowing she had been married the entire time didn't hurt the way I thought it would. It didn't diminish my sense of self. If anything, it freed me from the lingering doubt that I'd done something wrong. I hadn't been too much. I hadn't pushed her away. I hadn't misread the situation. I had simply been kept in the dark, and that realization was enough. I never spoke to my ex again after that. Not because I was afraid to, and not because I needed to protect myself from hearing something painful. I just didn't see the point anymore. The truth had arrived on its own, without drama, without confrontation, without her even knowing it had reached me. And in a strange way, that felt right. For a long time after our breakup, I'd carried questions around quietly. Not obsessive ones, but the kind that sit in the background of your mind. The kind that show up late at night or during idle moments. Questions about what I missed. About whether I misunderstood something. About whether I could have handled things differently. Those questions disappeared that night. Not all at once, but completely. I thought about how carefully she must have lived two lives at the same time. How much energy it takes to keep stories straight, to avoid overlap, to make sure nothing leaks into the wrong place. I wondered whether she ever felt conflicted, or if compartmentalizing had simply become second nature. And then I stopped wondering. Because her inner world was no longer my responsibility. What stayed with me wasn't bitterness or anger. It was something quieter. A reminder that people don't always hurt you because they're cruel. Sometimes they hurt you because they're protecting something else, a life, a role, an image, and you just happen to be collateral. That realization didn't excuse anything, but it helped me let go without needing closure from her directly. I also realized something about timing. If I had learned the truth earlier, it would have devastated me. If I had found out mid-relationship, it would have shaken my sense of reality. But finding out when I did, after enough distance, after enough growth, turned it into information instead of a wound. The coincidence felt almost intentional, like life handing me a missing piece only once I was ready to hold it without breaking. I didn't feel foolish for not knowing. I didn't feel naive. I felt human. We trust the version of people they show us. And sometimes that version is carefully edited. That doesn't make you stupid for believing it. It just means you were acting in good faith. As for her coworker, the woman who unknowingly revealed everything, I never saw her again. We didn't stay in touch. The moment had served its purpose. Some connections exist only to deliver a message, then disappear. These days, when I think back on that relationship, I don't feel regret. I feel clarity. And clarity, I've learned, is far more valuable than answers demanded too early. Sometimes you don't need explanations. Sometimes you just need the truth to arrive, quietly, and leave you alone afterward. So, have you ever learned something by pure coincidence that gave you closure you didn't even know you were waiting for?